the Barnard Medical Center, we do what every other medical center does. We do diagnostic procedures, and we will use medications when they're needed, but we do something else, and that's we help the patients to understand what caused their problem in the first place. And if a person has type 2 diabetes, it's not caused by a metformin deficiency. It's caused by food habits that we stumbled into and that got reinforced and caused problems for us. And that's true for a great many health problems. So doctors are used to being very busy and running from one room to another, and they say, I don't have time to teach the patient. At the Barnard Medical Center, they don't have to. They have to validate it, talk to the patient about how important it is, but we have a whole army of registered dietitians and teachers who take it from there, and that is a winning combination. I invite doctors and medical students and residents to come visit us, and we have visitors all the time. Many of them are medical students who are really just learning, but many of them are doctors in practice who want to learn too. And then when they're setting up their practice, I encourage them in the same way as they have an x-ray facility, so they're not running down to take their own x-rays. They need a nutrition expert, so they're not doing all their own nutrition teaching. And that makes it so much easier. And insurance will pay for that. And you can set up teaching programs, and the patients absolutely love it. And if you set that up, it just changes your life. Vegan is pretty easy. It means you don't eat any animal products. But some people have said, well, that's true, but there are candies that could be vegan. And so they say, well, have more be whole foods. So instead of it being sugar gumdrops, it would be something like beans and vegetables and fruits, and I can understand that. But then people get confused too, because does plant-based mean only plants or mostly plants? So who knows? The terminology is moving. But from my standpoint, what we do is we eliminate animal products, we keep the greasy, oily foods to a bare minimum, and try to choose the healthiest ones of what's left. Many patients are troubled by the fact that their doctors don't understand nutrition in general, and they haven't learned, say, about a plant-based diet. They haven't learned what so many patients have learned about the fact that diabetes can improve dramatically. Sometimes it goes away when people are on a plant-based diet. Some doctors don't know that. So those doctors still have a role. They can monitor the patient's progress. They can check their A1C and blood sugar and lipids, and they can report that to the patient. But that doctor has no business talking the patient out of a healthy diet. They should really encourage them, and I encourage doctors to read the research, or if that's too challenging for them, they can just read my book where it's summarized and make it easy. I have a TEDx talk on this as well. We use every kind of medium that we can to get the word out to whatever audience needs it. And when doctors try it with their patients, they are very rapidly rewarded because A, their clinical results are huge, but B, you have a patient who's no longer just the recipient of care. They're not like a funnel swallowing pills. They're a partner. The patient's doing the work, working with you, and that feels so much better than just writing one prescription after another. The evidence is so strong now that when we present it to doctors and they look at it objectively, it's really very, very convincing that a change in diet is as powerful as medications in many cases for bringing down blood sugar, bringing down blood pressure, helping people to get healthy in many, many ways. And there's an extra advantage that there are no side effects that are negative. The side effects are all good ones. And to boot, if I give you a metformin prescription, that might affect you. But if I give you a food prescription, that can affect your whole family. Let's face it, who's paying the bill here? It's the patient. And so if the doctor is not doing a good job, the doctor should be fired by the patient. But I'm hoping that they will be given a break here and there and given a chance to learn. And I have to say, sometimes the most educational people of all are not the medical school professors. It's the patient who's had a good result and shares this approach with the doctor. The reimbursement model in medicine is not where it should be. Right now, doctors are paid for doing things. They're doing procedures. A doctor will get paid handsomely for taking a patient with late-stage diabetic neuropathy and amputating their toes and their feet and their ankles. They don't get paid very much for sitting down and talking with them about a diet that could stop that from ever being needed to be done. I don't know how that's going to change, and I'm very concerned about it because right now the primary care doc who is sitting down and talking with the patient to try to prevent the need for specialized care, to try to keep you out of the hospital, to keep you out of the cardiologist's office if we can do that, those doctors are kind of the bottom of the totem pole. And the people who are making the most money are the people who do the most things to you. And medications are pricey, particularly within the confines of the United States for various political reasons. But insulin, which has been around for how many decades, to this day is not generic. You're paying through the nose for that insulin pen. And if you're type 1, if you have type 1 diabetes, you can't live without it. It's unethical, and it needs to change. How we get there, I don't know, because those of us who are voices for change are fighting against the pharmaceutical industry and others who have a heck of a lot of political clout. There are some policy initiatives that I think will help us. The first is in hospitals. It's now the law in the state of California that plant-based meals have to be available at every hospital in the whole state. That's also been passed in New York State. The governor's pen is right next to that bill on his desk, but I think he'll sign it. And the American Medical Association has spoken out very strongly in favor of this very kind of thing. But another step has to happen, and that's that doctors need to understand nutrition and encourage the patient. And so far, although there are many doctors going in this direction now, more than ever before, there are still a lot of folks who don't understand the power of nutrition in general, and that will hopefully change. We need to be able to get this word out more effectively so that people who are looking for answers don't have to hunt all over the place to find them. However, I do want to say that there are really good signs of progress. It was the American Diabetes Association that actually first published the findings of our NIH-funded research. They said, this is good work. It's funded by the federal government. It's been peer-reviewed all the way along, and they published it and publicized it. And I went to the ADA's meetings and presented it to large groups of people. So they've done their part. But there's a lot more that has to be done too, because let's face it, there's a lot of noise out there of other competing approaches, both pharmaceutical approaches and other kinds of diets and everything else. The progress that we're seeing now is only going to accelerate. And 10 years from now, I think it's going to be absolutely routine for medical centers to just assume that nutrition is front and center. That's why the person has a high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high blood sugar. That's often why their joints hurt or why they have other autoimmune conditions. And that recognition changes things forever. You can't unlearn that. Right. And once people see it, it gives you power you didn't have before. Right. There will be headwinds. The headwinds are coming from the pharmaceutical industry that does not want to lose their income. But let's face it, people want to be healthy. Doctors want to help them get there. This is going to win.